Teicher. Did you know Israel and Luz? They moved back to California to be with their daughter, Taiva, and he died yesterday. And Arthur Krensky. Oh. You were with them today? Okay. Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And happy New Gregorian Secular New Year. It feels good to be in 2021. Hope this year will be a year of better health and happiness for us all. We are going to get started. Sort of feeling like a better day, so maybe we'll sing about what a good day it is. Karen, thank you for joining us. If you could lead us in song.
So delighted to be here. So delighted to be with all of you via live stream here at Congregation Kol Ami. Our prayer is that our voices and these prayers will serve as a source of comfort for you, as a source of hope as you wrap up your week and celebrate Shabbat with us. Ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom, ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom, ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la la, ya la ya la, ki bamoed, ki bamoed, ki bamoed, ki bamoed, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la, ki bamoed, ki bamoed, ki bamoed, ki bamoed. And turn with me, won't you, to page 142. Those of you who have a Siddur with you, and Join with me, won't you, as we sing about those Shabbat angels among us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nila Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzedchem HaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. And won't you please join me on 138 as we greet Shabbat, as we would greet a bride at a wedding. So grateful that beauty and that gratitude and that place of peace has finally arrived. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene shava nekavila. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene shava nekavila. Shamor v'zakur b'dibur echad Yishmianu elam yechad Adonai echad U'shemo echad L'shem ol tiferet v'liti la 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 Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene shavad nekavila Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene shavad nekavila Likrat Shabbat lekuveneka Ki makor habracha merosh begidim Nesu kasor ma'aseh tzamar Shabbat techila la 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 Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila Hitori, hitori Kivi ori, kumi ori Uri, uri, shir dabari Kevod Adonai al-kanig la 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 Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila. And we rise and we face the door to greet the bride. Oh, Ivet Shalom Terit Ba'ala Gava Simcha Ubizhala Toga Mone Am Segula Bo'i Chala la 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 Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila la 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 Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala Pene pene Shabbat nekavila. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom. We are going to turn to page 140 for Psalm 92. We'll go to the indentation. Tzadikata mahar yifrach, ke'erez bavanon yizkei, shetulim bevet Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yenuvim b'seva, deshenim v'ra'anim yehiyu, Hagid ki yashar Adonai, Tsuri, Tsuri velo avlatabo. Page 144. Kitkada vigada shmei rabba, be'amadi v'achir tevim nechmachute, b'chayechon yomecho, u'chayedecho be'Yisrael, Bargala, Uvismahan Karibi Meru. Amen. Yeshme Rabba Mivarach, Me'alama Me'almaya, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Viparvichman Vinase, Vietadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmeda Kudusha Brehu, Le'elam Min Koberchata Vishirata, Tushbechata v'nehemata, Dahamihiram be'almam, Bimeru. Amen. Please rise for the Baruch, page 146.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai. Amevorah.
Baruch Adonai. Amevorah.
Amevorah. Le'olam va'ed. Amevorah. Amevorah. Le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. Turn to page 149. We're going to lead us in an English reading. We are in a new secular Gregorian year, 2021. And even though we awoke today and still had a lot of the same challenges, they didn't vanish with 2020. But I think that with starting this new year, there is a feeling of hope and also anticipation. Just as,
Oh, there you are.
just as a year ago, we didn't know what 2020 held for us, and indeed it was a year with unprecedented challenges. We don't know what joys and what challenges await us. We know that in the next month we're going to see big changes within our own country. For some of us that brings hope and excitement and joy, and for others of us worry and anticipation. And also now as this vaccine is being distributed, new hopes and joys and feelings of optimism, whereas for other people, new concerns too. But it is a time of change nonetheless. This is an hour of change, and within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hamarif aravim.
Ahavat ulam Beit Yisrael Amcha avta Torah mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu בשכבנו ובקומנו, נשיג בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Hello. Okay, good to know. So we will direct all of our focus over here. Hello, Shabbat Shalom. And will you please join with me in the Shema, the prayer of our centrality, where we acknowledge the oneness of God. I like to make a shin and put it on my forehead. Join me, won't you? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevoto Le'olam Va'ed. Rabbi, lead us in the Via Hafta. I'm almost there with leading it myself, but I would love your, on page 154, friends, please join us.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אדוני אלוהיהם. Amen. One of the things I love about the story of when we crossed over from the Sea of Reeds and made it to the other side was, even though our ancestors didn't have time to allow bread to rise, which is why we eat matzah, they still dug up the mummified remains of Joseph and brought it with them, even in their hurry, so that they could repatriate his body.
I love that.
Yeah, to the land of Israel. And they carried him with them the entire 40 years they were in the desert.
Oh.
But I think more than just literally carrying him, it's kind of a metaphor of saying, who is it that we carry with us as we go into a new adventure? And so as we're in this new year now, and we've crossed over from 2020 to 2021, I want you to think not only what you're hopeful for in this year ahead, what freedoms you hope we'll be able to have once more, but also whose inspiration are you carrying with you on your shoulders as we enter this new year?
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Yum bum bum ba yum bum 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 ba yum bum bum ba yum bum 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 yum bum bum ba yum bum 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 yum bum bum ba yum bum 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 bum. Mi chama chabe elim Adonai mi chama chane eder b'kodesh nora tahiloro sefele nora tahiloro sefele malechutecha ra'uvanecha ba'okei ayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam ze'eli anu v'yamru ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam ba'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam ba'ed Yam pam pam pa yam pam 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 pa yam pam pam pa yam pam 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 Yam pam pam pa yam pam 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 Yam pam pam pa yam pam 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 pam.
And camera one is back on. Hooray, hi again on camera
So we're back
one.
to here.
We're back
Hello.
over here. We're getting to move all over the Bema today. And so we turn to page 160 as we ask God to watch over us with the Hashki Venu.
Ufros aleinu sukkah shalom mecha spread over us spread over us spread over us a shelter of peace. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la Ufros aleinu sukkah sukkah shalom mecha. And won't you please join me in Vishamru on page 162. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat ledoratam berit olam b'nei Yisrael oti leolam oti leolam oti leolam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat ledoratam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
Turn to page 164. And we rise.
And we rise and address the earth. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Svatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Svatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha.
Adonai Sevatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Anora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Haste Avot v'Imaot, Umevi Gula Lifnei v'Nehem, Leman Shema Be'ava, Melech Hoser Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rab le'oshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid agashem, Mechalkel hayim behesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Mihamo habal gevurot, Umidamela, Melech memi, Umehayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanat alechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'dershim b'chol yom hallelu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may continue silently through page 180, or you can use this as an opportunity for the prayers of your heart, and when you are finished, you may be seated.
shalom bimroma. Yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
As we enter a new year always provides hope for renewal, but we're cognizant too that we have many people, particularly this year, who are not entering our new year feeling full and complete, but rather are in need of healing of the mind, body, and spirit. So with that in mind, we turn to page 371 for our prayer for healing, the Misha Berach.
Mishe berach avotenu l'kor habracha la'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This week, we think of these members of our community and their loved ones who could use a prayer for healing. Esther bat Malka, Golda bat Sarah, Gita Leah bat Masha Hana, Michael ben Manya, Shifra Fega bat Rachel, Israel Isser ben Moshe, Israel bat Donna, Maureen Berry, Ethan Allison, Maureen Berry's on her twice, Maureen sending you double prayers, I guess. Dan Carter, Denise Dobling, Alexander Dolowitz, Carl Gallup, Will Goldman, Sandy Kahn, Sharon Katz, Ray Kesner, Ed Kuhn, Betty Lenahan, Megan Magleby, Jamie Manson, Tyler Matthews, Janet Morley, Kent Palmer, Shari Pedersen, Robert Prodis, Cheryl Rothenberg, Gary Rubenstein, Barb Spector, Penny Spector, Angela Stefani, Linda Stern, Gloria Sussman, Dustin Wallace, and Judy Wolf. And if you have a name to add, I invite you to do so at this time.
And to all those names we hold in our hearts. Mishe berach imotenu mikor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shaleima, a renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
One of the more interesting books that I read about the human condition and that I think is a great read is David Brooks' book, The Road to Character. And in it, David Brooks says that according to a 1950 poll, approximately 12% of high schoolers aspire to be famous. However, in 2006, when Gallup asked people, high school students, what are among your most important life goals? A whopping 80% said that they aspire to be famous someday. A jump from 12% to 80%. That's something incredible. And I think that for many of us, we do want some notoriety. Maybe it's not always, I certainly never aspired to be a world famous singer. I don't think that would have worked out in my favor.
Maybe, Rabbi.
Maybe. I'm no Karen Nielsen Hansen, though. So, and I never aspired to be like a world famous actor or something. But, I will say that as Utah rabbis go, I'm definitely one of the better known rabbis in Utah. There's not a whole lot of us, but it is kind of neat to get to be on TV or in the newspaper or something. So I understand that of wanting to be known in your field and recognized, and how that can be a special thing. But there's what we want for ourselves. And then let me ask you, what is it that you want for the people you love, for your children, for maybe your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews, or a sibling or something? Do you want them to be famous as one of your most important goals for them? And I'm not a parent yet, but I think that when I have kids, and I think about having kids because that's a goal of mine someday, and what do I want my children to be like? And famous is not the first thing that comes to my mind, or even the 10th thing. Things that come to my mind first are, I'd like my kids to be smart and ambitious and hardworking, but most of all, more than anything, I want my kids to be kind people and good people. And I would much rather people say about my child, what a nice, good person, as opposed to, oh, your kid is super famous. And I think that we often see that parents whose goal it is that their children become famous, it doesn't always work out so well. I look at Joe Jackson, the patriarch of the Jackson musical family, and how a lot of his kids kind of resented him for how tough he was on them and not so warm. But of all of Joe Jackson's famous children, of course, the most famous was Michael Jackson, who was a very problematic character in his own right, very talented, but very problematic. But let me ask, would any parent out there want their child to end up like Michael Jackson? I wouldn't want my kid to end up like Michael Jackson. That seems like a very difficult life. And we see that a lot of these people who are pushed into fame at a young age, often by their parents, that they often struggle. And they might have fame and fortune, but they don't always have happiness. Like Michael Jackson didn't seem like a profoundly happy individual. He talked often about how lonely he was and how sad he was and how misunderstood he felt. And then there were a lot of questions about his character, too, and allegations against him. But I was thinking about this the other day when I was listening to the radio, and a song from another person who rose to fame as a child was on the radio, and that was Justin Bieber. And he was singing a song called Lonely. And this song talks all about his loneliness and his lack of privacy. And he says, "I'm so lonely," over and over again as the chorus of this song. And it's really sad. And I actually, today as I was writing this, I went and I watched the music video for this song. And in the music video, it's not him, but rather he found a child who looks the way he did when he started becoming famous around 12, 13, 14 years old. And he has that child in the music video as a depiction of himself, sitting by himself, and how lonely this child feels and how misunderstood this child feels. And he says in this song that he has it all. He has everything. He has fame and fortune. He has it all, but he has nobody to call and nobody who understands him. And that's probably true. And that's not what I would want for my child. And Shabbat gives us an opportunity to spend time with family or our loved ones. Often for parents, it's a time too for them to say their aspirations for their children. And for our daughters, there is a blessing that's, may God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And these 4 women seem like great people for us to ask our daughters to emulate. They were strong women. They were women of deep faith and devotion. And these were the women who are our matriarchs. We just said in our Amidah a little bit ago, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. These 4 women are the ones that we mention by name. So it seems appropriate that these are the 4 women that we choose for our daughters to emulate. But then for the blessing over our sons, it would seem logical, if we're seeing Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, to say for them, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. May God make you like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because these were the patriarchs, the ones we also mentioned in the Amidah. But this is not who we tell our children to emulate. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were all very flawed characters, but in the Torah, and we read a lot about each of their misdeeds and their character flaws. But who doesn't have character flaws? I know I certainly do. But instead, we ask our children, we say to our children, to our sons, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And who the heck are Ephraim and Manasseh? If I polled probably most Jewish people that I know, or maybe sent out a survey in our congregation of who were Ephraim and Manasseh, I venture to bet that over 50% of our congregation would flunk that test of identifying who were Ephraim and Manasseh, who was their dad, where did they come from, what did they do. These guys aren't very well known. And it was Jacob who was the one who dictated to us that we say this blessing over our sons. He says as he's dying and he's blessing all of his sons, he calls over these 2 grandchildren of his. These are the 2 sons of Joseph. And he calls them over to give them a special blessing, something he doesn't do for his other grandchildren. And he says, by you shall Israel invoke blessings. Israel is Jacob's name too, but he's referring to his descendants when he says Israel. He's saying the people of Israel. By you shall Israel invoke blessings, saying, God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And the reason why we learn is that throughout the book of Genesis, and here we are in the very, very last parsha of Genesis. Next week we start Exodus, Parshat Shemot. He is saying, we look back at Genesis and we see all these brothers who fight and who don't like each other and have drama between them, like Cain and Abel. The sons of Noah, where Ham is banished. There's Isaac and Ishmael, and then Jacob and Esau. And then the last few weeks we've been reading about the drama between Joseph and his brothers. But with Ephraim and Manasseh at the very end of Genesis, we get two brothers who actually love each other, who are one another's best friends. And Jacob says, this is who I want you to be like. So it's interesting because what he's saying to us, basically what we're saying on to our sons, is not, we don't want you to necessarily be like the most famous people in the Torah. We want you to be like two of the least known people in our Torah. Ephraim and Manasseh. That's who we want you to be like. And why is that? Because we want you to be kind people who are nice to others, who are good brothers. And for thousands of years now, for about 3,000 years, these words have been said literally billions of times from parents to their sons on Shabbat. And I think this is one of the gifts of Shabbat. This is actually one of the things I look most forward to in being a parent someday, is having this weekly time, this weekly moment to tell our children what we aspire for them to be like, what we appreciate about them. And so I hope you find this time, whether if you don't have children, then maybe somebody who looks up to you or who you care about their future, and give them a blessing on Shabbat and say tell them what you appreciate about them, but also what your hopes for them are like. And when you say to them, may God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, or Leah, or like Ephraim and Manasseh, perhaps you can also add in some of your own people too. May you have the advocacy of Martin Luther King or John Lewis. May you have the wisdom of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or even something closer to home of somebody not famous. May you have your grandfather's sense of humor. May you have your grandmother's kind heart. On Shabbat, it's a time for us to take a break from creating new things. This is when God ceased creation. But in a blessing, what we can do is we can give an idea of how we can create ourselves for better next week, so that each week on Shabbat, we can be a bit more like the people that we're trying to emulate in these blessings and making them come to fruition. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Yasher Koach, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. You know, I have every belief that you will be a phenomenal father someday. That you and Jill are going to be amazing parents. And what a wonderful drosh to remind us of the behavior of Manasseh and Ephraim. Thank you for that.
Thank you. A few announcements. Let's see, we have Shabbat services tomorrow, per usual, at 9 o'clock. And following services, some of the folks get together for a virtual Kiddush drink. You are welcome to join with that as well. Link should be in your email. On Sunday morning, religious school is resuming. This week, our educational programs are resuming. Religious school is resuming this Sunday morning after winter break, and this Thursday evening, Intro Judaism will be resuming. I look forward to those days. And also Sunday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, Faye Lincoln and Rabbi Wenger teach Tanakh on Sunday, and on Wednesday they teach Parshat HaShavua, the weekly Torah portion. They're great teachers. It's a fun, intimate class. Feel free to join in. And another learning opportunity too, Jana Zamir is teaching advanced Hebrew. So this is for folks that are pretty conversational in Hebrew. They're doing things like reading newspapers and stuff like that. And so you can tune in to, you can go onto our website or look in your email and sign up for classes with Jana on Advanced Hebrew if that's of interest to you. The last announcement I have is, thank you to everybody, by the way, who helped donate to our High Holiday Appeal. I believe we hit our goal, so thank you so much. We'll still take your donations, even though it's now January 1st. We'll never say no to that. But thank you so much for all the donations that poured in particular these past couple weeks to help us reach our goal. We're so very grateful. The last announcement I have is this upcoming Wednesday. There will be a congregational meeting at 7 o'clock to vote on ratifying a contract renewal for me through June of 2026. It's a real privilege to be your rabbi for me, and so this is your opportunity to either help keep me here till 2026, or if you're not a big fan of mine, make your voice heard there too. But this will be Wednesday at 7 o'clock. You have to be a member in good standing who has paid your dues in order to, or made arrangements for your dues in order to be at that meeting. So that will be all of our announcements. We're going to turn to page 586 for the Aleinu. Please rise. Oh, and I forgot, of course, in our announcements, I want to thank Karen for leading us so beautifully in our worship this evening. We got a lot of big Karen Nielsen Hansen fans who are watching, so it is always a joy. People are always excited when they see you lead.
And it's always a joy for me, too. Thank you for reviving and renewing my enthusiasm for Judaism. I'm learning so much from you, and it's such a lovely opportunity for me. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. We are on page 586. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, v'teit yedula l'yotzer b'reshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'gofhei meromim, hu Eloheinu einod, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim livnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz umoshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al u'shchinatu zo b'gofhei meromim hu Eloheinu einod emet malkeinu efes zulato kakatuv b'torato v'yedatayom v'hashivota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim Bashamayim ima'al ve'al haaretz mitachat einod. Katuv b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo You may be seated. This time we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you hear the name of a loved one, you are invited to rise. In the Pirush Shloshim 30-day period of mourning,
we remember Allison White Gamble, daughter of Cliff and Nancy White, and Joel Burney, father of Debbie Sigmund, and Rachel Hinterman, one of our religious school students, who's the daughter of Rebecca Levine and E.J. Hinterman, and sister of Ethan Hinterman. And this week, we commemorate the following Yortzeits, anniversary of the passing of these loved ones: Ann Anson, Morris Arnovitz, Galena Balk, Abe Baum, Daniel Bornstein, Joe Kahn, Max Cowlett, Louis D. Tannenbaum, Walter Daniel, Joe Doctorman, Bertha Douglas Frank, Edward Eisen, Isidore Eisen, Aaron Feuerstein, Valerie Fields, Harry J. Finke, Gabriel Gabby Janov, Phyllis Geldzaller, Geraldine Jerry Dupler, Pauline Gus Wolk, Stephanie Hennian, Eugene Hertz, Leo Jacobson, Jack Kapp, Saul Korewa, Howard Lerner, Bonnie Lee May, Dina Lenato, Barry Lynn Pepper, Irving Meyer Isaacson, Eleanor Meyer Koschel, Lily Mildred Goldstein Annisman, Elizabeth Muriel Hillis, Chad Paul Wright, Raymond Pedersen, Ethel Pollock, Sarah Pritzker, Louis Rosenthal, Molly Saperstein, Jean Schulman, Corinne Siegel, Robert Siegel, Ruth Smith, Raul Soria Sr., Magda Weidenfeld, Ellen Whitting, Haritina Zibirnia. And if you have a name to add, I invite you to do so at this time. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you are in mourning, it's tradition to do so. I invite you to rise. We are on page 598. Yikadav Vikadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach Yurte V'yemech Malchute, V'chayachon V'yomechon V'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalah V'zman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Omei Omaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitalei V'yitalal Shmei Dekudusha B'rechu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechemata, Dami Ram Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who are mourning comfort those of us who are bereaved. Again, we say Amen. Karen, thank you again for leading us. And don't know if you have a closing song for us.
This is a little song by Tom Paxton. I was thinking of your story of Ephraim and Manasseh, and made me realize that it really is an inside job. It really is kind of up to me to figure out how I can improve myself and be a good sibling and a good mother and a good sister. And it goes like this. Peace, peace will come, and let it begin with me. We need peace, and let it begin with me. Oh, my own life is all I can hope to control. Oh, let my life be lived for the good of my soul. Let it bring peace, sweet peace. Peace will come, and let it begin with me. Shalom, shalom yavo, sheyachil iti. Oh, come and let it begin with me. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Take care. Be safe, everybody.